We don't become more like Jesus merely by imitating Jesus. Let me say it again. We really don't become more like Jesus merely by mimicking Jesus. We do it by drawing near to him. The secret is to look toward Jesus. And I think that's what Paul is trying to tell us in the first couple of verses. Colossians chapter 3, beginning in verse 1. Listen to these words. He says, "Since then you have been raised with Christ, set your hearts on things above, where Christ is seated at the right hand of God. Set your minds on things above, not on earthly things." So as we seek to know and love Jesus, we will become closer to him. And when we are close to the tailor, then he's able to measure and fit us for these beautiful custom fit clothes that match who we are and who we're with. They fit with our new identity and our new company. And then as we stay connected to Jesus, he does a work in our hearts and lives that we cannot do in ourselves. And he clothes us in beautiful robes of righteousness. One other thing I think I should mention about this, it's helpful to understand that this whole matter of taking off the old and putting on the new is not so much an event as it is a process. So, for example, by analogy, my guess is that you all didn't sleep in those clothes last night. Okay, my guess is that you changed your clothes already today, and we tend to change our clothes on a daily basis. Sometimes, depending on the circumstances, we may change our clothes several times in a given day. And what do we do when we find that our clothes are dirty? When we find that our clothes are filthy, we change them, don't we? We trade them out for a different set of clothes. Well, changing our spiritual clothes is a lot like that. It's not so much a once and for all event. We don't change our clothes and keep those forever. It's a process. We change our clothes every day. And sometimes, depending on the circumstances in our hearts and lives, we may have to change our clothes multiple times in a given day. And when we realize that our clothes are dirty, the clothes we're wearing are dirty, that's a signal that we need to change our clothes. Now, listen, this may help some of you. If we discover that our clothes are dirty, we discover that our hearts are full of pride or malice, our mouths are full of filthy language, that's a signal our clothes are dirty, okay? These clothes don't match who we are or who we're with. And so what do? It's time to go back to the best dressed man we know, to go back to the tailor. So we change our clothes not by running to the wardrobe, but by running to the tailor himself. And we run to Jesus, we confess our sin honestly, and we ask him for his mercy, and we seek his face. We seek to draw near to Jesus himself. And then as we spend time with Jesus, he does a work of transformation in our hearts that we simply cannot do in ourselves. He empowers us to put on new clothes that he provides for us so that our clothes match who we are and who we're with. And then oftentimes we'll discover the very next day that our clothes are dirty again. Our clothes are dirty again, and that's a signal. That's a signal that we need to go back to the tailor. We run back to Jesus for a change of clothes. And this process repeats itself over and over. But it's a process that's centered around the tailor, around Jesus himself. This perhaps is a little nebulous, so perhaps it would help to have an illustration. Now, I could probably pick any one of the vices or virtues listed in this passage. Let me choose one that is particularly relevant in our culture and especially for the men in the congregation. Let's take lust, for example. Okay? Now, I want you to imagine that I'm maybe on a walk. I'm out. I have a piece of mail. I'm going to go to the post office. And so I'm heading down the sidewalk, and a beautiful woman passes me on the sidewalk, and she catches my attention, and I turn and I look, and before I know it, I find myself in a fantasy about her. Now, when I realize that, when I catch myself in that place, then I realize my clothes are dirty. I have dirty clothes. My heart's not right. It's full of wickedness. What do I do? Well, I could really punish myself and beat myself up for having dirty clothes. I could kick myself and chide myself for that. Or I could also try to launder those clothes myself. Okay, I could say, well, okay, I need to get my head in the game here. I need to straighten up. I need to think right. I need to not have wrong thoughts. I need to have pure thoughts. I could try real hard, redouble my efforts. But that's probably not going to work very well. Instead, I could run to the tailor. I could just run straight to Jesus. I can confess honestly to him that my clothes are dirty, Lord. My heart is evil, Father. My thoughts are wrong, God. I begin to pray. I could say, Lord, thank you for creating such a beautiful creature. She is very beautiful, and you did a wonderful job, and I'm amazed. Lord God, she is beautiful, but so are you. And then begin to worship and say, Lord, you are beautiful, God. You are glorious. You are powerful. You are mighty. You are holy. You are righteous. You are pure. You are good. You are gracious. You are long-suffering. You are full of mercy. You have generosity of spirit. God, I just worship you because you're beautiful. And I wonder, does she know that? Does she know you, Jesus? Has that woman experienced your forgiveness and your grace? Does she know your holiness? Does she know your power? Father, will you please show her who you really are? Will you convince her of her sin? Draw her into your kingdom. Father, please show her mercy and let her experience the freedom that comes from your forgiveness.